Greetings from my new apartment in Seattle! I'm finally settled in, so it's time to fulfill a request a few of you made, and I make a video about kanji radicals. In this video, I will explain what radicals are, where you can find them on the kanji, and I will do a brief overview of all of the kanji radicals from 1 brushstroke to 17 brushstrokes. Let's get started! Now, before I start, I need to acknowledge my sources for this video. If you are serious about learning kanji, I highly recommend getting the Kanji Dictionary by Mark Spahn and Wolfgang Haramitsuki. It was my first and only kanji dictionary, and before the internet became a great resource for kanji, I used this book until it literally fell apart at the seams. Spahn and Haramitsuki have other resource books for the Japanese writing system that also look great. I also want to acknowledge the website kanjialive.com. Since my kanji dictionary fell apart, a quick search led me to their page on radicals, and their chart is the basis for this video. So, radicals. What are they? They are smaller kanji that appear in part of a kanji and help contribute to its overall meaning. Not all kanji have radicals, and some kanji are radicals. An example is this. Even if you are just starting out learning Japanese, you probably recognize this as meaning to say, or words, and that you can add a hiragana wanaide to make it iwanaide, which means please don't say it. But this kanji is also a radical. Check out this kanji. If you look at the left side, you'll see the word kanji squished to the left of another kanji, the kanji for uru, or to sell things. Put the two parts together and you have literally sell words, or its actual meaning, to read. Now if this already made your brain hurt, congratulations, you're learning kanji! Seriously though, it may seem quite overwhelming and complicated at first, but once you learn kanji, they will be your friends, I promise. Radicals can go in a number of different places in a kanji. These positions have names, but you don't need to worry about that. Even I didn't know some of these names until I made this video just now. What's most important is that you know where these radicals might appear and where you'll need to be looking out for them. Radicals can appear on the left, right, top, or bottom. They can partially or completely surround a kanji in a few different patterns, and they can wrap around on the upper left and lower left sides of a kanji. So if you encounter a kanji you don't know, your first step will be to look in all of these locations and see if you can find a radical. Sometimes a kanji might be made up of 2 or more kanji that are technically both radicals, like this one. It means tomorrow, among other things. If we break this down, you'll see a sun on the left and a moon on the right. So which is the radical? Your clue will usually be in size and or warping. If you compare the two kanji within this kanji, the one for sun is smaller and a bit slanted and thinner than it should be. That means sun is the radical. Now that we know what radicals are and where to find them, let's go through all of them. For kanji, alphabetical order means the kanji with the least brushstrokes are listed first. So we'll start with the radicals with 1 brushstroke and finish with the radicals with 17 brushstrokes. So before we look at the radicals with 1 brushstroke, just note the top of this table where you'll see number of strokes, the radical itself, the position of where it might usually be in the kanji, its meaning, its reading, and then notes and importance. Importance is like how often do you actually use this radical in kanji. So first we have ichi, which means 1 or a horizontal stroke, then tatebo, which is a vertical stroke, ten, which is a dot, no, which is a diagonal sweeping stroke, no kanmuri, which is a diagonal sweeping stroke again, and you'll see it has kanmuri after it because kanmuri notates that the radical is on the top of the kanji. Then you'll have otsu and otsu again. So note the 2 different ways that this radical is written. Yeah, that's another fun thing about radicals. Sometimes you'll notice they're written different ways depending on where they appear in the kanji. Isn't that fun? Anyway, you got otsu twice, which means the second. That radical by itself, just as a kanji, if you add it to onna at the end, it makes otome, which means virgin or maiden or young girl. And then we have hanebo, which is vertical stroke with a hook. Now for kanji radicals with 2 brushstrokes, we have ni, which is 2, nabebuta, which is a lid or a top, and yeah, this is very important. You'll see this in a lot of kanji. Okay, then we have hito, which is a very important, like very commonly used kanji that means person, and then you'll note when it's used as a radical, it is written 2 different ways. Isn't that fun? And they're both really super important, so you got to remember them. So the one that looks like, to me, it looks just kind of like a pillar. It's It's pronounced ninben because ben means it's on the left side of the kanji, and that also means person. And then you have hitoyane, which means person as well, and it's yane because it's the top of the kanji. Then we have hitoashi, which means human legs, iru, which is to enter, and then hachi, which is 8, and then hachigashira, which is also 8. So note the different ways of expressing that same kanji. Looks similar, but it's slightly different. Kegamae, which is to enclose, and if look at the kanji radical, it looks like it's enclosing something. Wakamuri, which is a cover or a crown. Nisui, which is ice, and it looks similar to the water radical, which we will find later. Kinyo, table. Kazekamuri, which means wind, and if you look at this radical, it is the same radical that is used with kaze, which is wind, so that's an easier way to remember it. Kannyo, which is a container or an open box, and look, it looks like a container or an open box. Katana, katana is knife or sword, and when it is a radical on the right side of the kanji, it's ritto, and as you can see, it looks like a katakana ri, so that's an easier way to remember it. Speaking of katakana, this next kanji is one of the very first kanji that I learned, and it's because it's basically katakana ka, and it's chikara, which means power or strength. And I was really proud of myself when I learned this kanji. I was like, I know a kanji now. Tsutsumigamae, which is to wrap, and yeah, the radical looks like it's wrapping around something. Saji, which is spoon. Hakogamae, box. Kakshigamae, to conceal or to hide. Ju, 10. Boku, which is oracle. Fushitsukuri, which is stamp or seal. Gantare, which is a cliff, and yes, this is very important. It's a very commonly used radical. Then we have mu, which, as if you know katakana, that's basically katakana mu right there, and it also means private. Then you have mata, which is again, or right hand. Now we're on to 3 brushstrokes. All right, notice we have 3 different mouths. The first one is just the kanji for mouth, kuchi. That's a very basic kanji and it's used a lot, so you should learn this one definitely. This should be one of your first kanji. And look, it's just a square. That's easy enough to remember, right? If it's on the left side of the kanji, if you see here, it's kuchihen, and it's really tiny and squished, if you notice. And then if it is on the outside of a kanji, it's called kunigamae, which means border or territorial boundary. So this is actually like a different kanji. Like it totally looks the same as kuchi, but it's actually a different radical. And kunigamae is used in the kanji kuni, which is the kanji for country. Notice it there. Now we've got 3 different earths, although one of them, psych, it's not really earth. So the first one is tsuchi, which is just earth, and if you're in first year Japanese, you've probably already learned it. Very common kanji, it's used in Saturday. Then we have it as a radical, and it's on the left side of the kanji, so it's tsuchihen. And then this big version of it, it's actually samurai, which is samurai, but they translate it here as a man or a scholar, but we know it as samurai. And this samurai, this kanji actually, if you know Bishoujo Senshi, Sailor Moon, it's the shi in senshi, which is warrior or fighter. So it's actually not earth, even though it looks pretty much exactly like earth. And then you'll see this as a radical samurai kamuri because it's on the top of the kanji. Then you have nomata, which is to follow, natsashi, which is to go slowly, and then yube, which is evening, and it really just looks like a katakana ta. Dai, which is large or big, onna, which is woman, onnahen, which is woman if it's a radical on the left side of the kanji. Then we have ko, which is child, son, or daughter, and then kohen, because it is on the left side of the kanji, is child, son, or daughter again. Then ukamuri, which is roof or house, and yeah, very important. You see this on a lot of kanji. Sun, which is an inch, and then sunzukuri, which means the right side radical inch. Notice how squished it is. Sho, which is small, and then sho kamuri, which is also small. It's just a different way of writing that kanji, and it always appears on the top of a kanji. Now we have dai no mageashi. Yep, I totally knew that one. It wasn't just reading it off the chart. It means lame leg. Shikabane, which is corpse or awning. Lovely how it means those 2 drastically different things. Then you got kusanome, which is sprout. yama, which is mountain. That's very, very common. As you'll see in these two variants, you've got yama hen, which is the yama as a radical to the left side of the kanji, and then you have yama kamuri, which is mountain at the top of a kanji. And yeah, very, very common. Magarigawa, which is a winding river. I have actually never seen this kanji before until just now. And then you have Sambongawa, which is river. Takumi, work, carpenter, or skill. And then takumi hen, because it's on the left side of the kanji. Onore, which is oneself. Haba, which is cloth. Haba hen, which is cloth to the left of the kanji. Kan, which is to dry or shield. Itogashira, which is young and silent. Madare, slanting roof. Ennyo, which is to move or stretch. Nijuashi, which is folded hands. Igurumi, a javelin. Yumi, which is a bow. So kyudo, this yumi kanji is the kyudo. And as you'll see, it's also a radical in the kanji for hiku, which is to pull. So kind of like when you're pulling on an arrow. So see how these radicals kind of make sense with the kanji? Then you got keigashira, which is pig's head, and keigashira, which is pig's head. If you look like very slightly, you'll see a difference in the lines. Like on the first one, the bottom line extends slightly to the right, and in the second one, the middle line extends slightly to the right. This kind of thing I did not notice when I didn't have glasses. I had astigmatism for, I don't know how long. I mean, I had astigmatism for at least 10 years, untreated. Like, I didn't have glasses or contacts all that time. And yeah, it was much harder for me to read kanji. So if you're having trouble with these kanji, and if you're struggling to notice, like, these differences that I'm pointing out, you might need glasses. Get that checked out. Moving on, keigashira, again, pig's head. Just a different version of pig's head. Then we have sanzukuri, which is a hairstyle or light raise. And then we have gyonin ben, which is a step, stride, street, or to go. And yeah, it's the radical used in the kanji ikimasu, which is to like go places. And also that same kanji is a second kanji in ginko, which is bank, as in place you keep your money. Kusakamuri, which is grass, and yes, very important. It's a radical that's used in cha, which is tea. Shinyo, road, walk, to advance, yes, very important. It is the radical used in michi, which is path or road. All right, this one is, I have always thought of it in my mind as Estzet, because I've also studied German, and there's that like double S, and it looks like an Estzet, or you might think of it as a capital B, but it's actually Ozato, and it's village, country, or city, and yeah, it's very commonly used. And here it is again. If it's on the left side of the kanji, it is kozato hen. And then you've got tsu, katakana tsu, and indeed, it basically just looks like a katakana tsu. All right, risshin ben, that is kokoro, a variant of kokoro you'll see on the right. And yeah, when I found out that this radical was the same thing as kokoro, it opened a lot of like ahas in my brain. Kanji started making a little more sense. And yeah, it's important. You'll see it a lot. Tehen, which is hand, and yeah, very important. It's in a lot of kanji, like motsu, mochimasu, that verb which means to hold things. So it would make sense that a hand would be part of that kanji, like you're holding something in your hand. Sanzi, water, also very important. And you'll notice it looks like a katakana shi. That's how I used to think of it. But yeah, it's actually water. And then kemono hen, also very important, and it means animal or beast. And you'll see often if a kanji has that radical, it is an animal. And now we're on to 4 brush strokes. So we are revisiting kokoro. Notice how kokoro itself has 4 brush strokes, but that radical we encountered earlier actually has 3. So that can happen sometimes when a kanji is radicalized. It loses some of its strokes. Because here it is again. And if it is on the bottom of the kanji, it usually retains its shape much better. It's much more recognizable as kokoro. It just looks kind of squashed. And it's called shitagokoro, which is funny because shitagokoro itself is a word that means like ulterior motives, like devious, like ulterior motives. So it's kind of funny. And the kanji koi, actually, which means romantic love, has shitagokoro under it. So I guess it's like symbolic, like even like in romantic love, everyone has ulterior motives. Hoko, which is spear or weapon. To, which is door. And todare, which is, again, it's just a variant of door. As you'll see, it's a little squished looking. And that's one of those radicals that surrounds the kanji on the upper left-hand side. Te, which is hand. Shinyo, which is branch. Bokuzukuri, which is activity or to strike or hit. And then bokuzukuri again, which is the same thing. But as you can see, the kanji just looks slightly different. It's just a variant of it. Bun, which is literature and letters. Masuzukuri, which is the Big Dipper. And one of the kanji in Hikitsu, one of the characters from Fushigi Yugi. Onozukuri, which is an axe. Ho, direction or flag. Ho hen, which is direction or flag. Munyo, which is not. Hi, which is, I mentioned this kanji earlier in the video, which is sun, day, or time. And as you can see, there's variants. So hi-hen is this hi radical to the left of the kanji. And then there's the kanji that looks like he that isn't really he. And if you have astigmatism, you won't catch this, but look at this. Hirabi, this kanji right here, if you look, this middle line does not go all the way to the right. Ooh, and also it's a little fatter than he. Like if you put them right next to each other, you'll see. But yeah, it's a very subtle difference. So be careful. But he is so much more commonly used than hirabi, so yeah. Here's another extremely common one, tsuki, which is moon, month, or period. And then tsuki-hen if it's on the left side of the kanji. Now, here's another subtle difference one, nikuzuki, which means meat or flesh. So going back and comparing it to moon, you'll see there's just a very slight difference. Yeah, so this nikuzuki, it's actually a variant of niku. Look at the kanji to the right. Not a variant of moon, if you compare the other one, even though the radicals look basically exactly the same. So yeah, that's kind of confusing. But an example how this nikuzuki radical is used, look at the kanji hone, which is for bone. That's where it is, and you may think that that's moon, but it is not. It is actually meat. Okay, now for an easier kanji that's extremely common, ki, tree or wood, and then ki-hen if it's to the left of the kanji, which it frequently is. This is definitely an important kanji. Akubi, which is to lack or to yawn. Tomeru, which is to stop. Gatsu, death and dying or to decompose. Gatsu-hen, which is death and dying to decompose. Dumata, lance shaft action. Nakare, not or mother. Kuraberu, to compare. Ke, which is hair. Uji, which is family or clan. Kingamae, which is steam or air. And if you recognize this radical, it is part of ki, which is the ki in tenki, weather. Mizu, which is water. Hi, which is fire. Hi-hen, which is fire when it's a radical. Rekka, which again is fire. So as you can see, just like with water and kokoro, this radical, when fire is radicalized, it can look super different. When it's on the left side of the kanji, it's just kind of squished. But when it's on the bottom of the kanji, it becomes just 4 dashes. But looking at that, it really looks kind of like a fire. Like if it's under a kanji, it's like that kanji is on fire. So it's kind of cool. Look at the kanji kuroi, and you'll see that there's fire on the bottom. If you look at the top part of the kanji, that means village. So burning village means black. And if you think about it, that actually makes sense. When your village burns down, it's black and scorched with ash. Isn't that lovely? Tsume is claws or nails, and then tsume kanmuri. Both of those versions of tsume kanmuri, see the slight difference there. Chichi, which is father. Ko, to mix. Shouhen, split wood. Kata, split wood again, and as you see, it just looks a little bit different. Katahen, which is it all squished into the left side of the kanji. Kiba, fang, canine, tooth. Ushi, cow. Ushi-hen, super squished cow to the left side of the kanji. Inu is dog. And then o-hen, jewelry or a jeweled king. And yeah, it's very important. You'll see it in a lot of kanji. Shimesu-hen, which is altar, festival, or religious service. And it also looks like a katakana ne. Amigashira, net. Oikanmuri, old or old age. And it's in the kanji ro and rojin, which is like elderly person. On to 5 brush strokes. Gen, which is darkness, and it's also the gen in genbu, if you're familiar with Fushigi Yugi. Tama, which is jewelry. Uri, which is melon. Kawara, which is tile. Amai, which is sweet. Umareru, which is to be born, birth, live. Mochiru, to use. Ta, which is a rice patty. That's a very commonly used kanji on its own. You'll see it in a lot of surnames. Tahen, which, again, rice patty, but it's squished into the left side of the kanji. Hiki, which is a bolt of cloth. Hiki-hen, bolt of cloth again, and you can see it's changed when it becomes a radical. Yamaidare, which is sickness. Hatsugashira, outspread legs or departure. Shiro, which is white. And then hakuhen, which is white when it's to the left side of the kanji. kengawa, skin or hide, sara, plate, bowl, me, eye, mehen, which is eye to the left, and then yokome, which is eye if it's on the top of the kanji. Hoko, halberd, hokohen, halberd squished to the left of the kanji, ya, which is arrow, and then yahen, arrow squished to the left of the kanji, ishi, stone, ishihen, stone again, squished, shimesu, which is an altar, festival, or religious service. You remember we saw that kanji earlier. It's the one that looked like a katakana ne. This is just another version of it. Ju no ashi, footprint. Nogihen, grain. Ana, hole or cave. And here it is as a kamuri, whole cave again, and it's on the top of the kanji. Tatsu, to stand. Tatsuhen, to stand on the left side of a kanji. Kiba, fang or canine tooth. Kiba hen, fang or canine tooth to the left of the kanji. Shitamizu, water. Amigashira, net. And then amigashira, net again. Koromo hen, which is clothing, and again, it looks like a katakana ne, but there's one extra little dash to the right. And if you're familiar with Aishi no Seres, it's the koromo in hagoromo, which is the thing that Seres kept looking for, her feathered robe. Munyo, which is knot. Now into 6 brush strokes. Take, bamboo. Take kamuri, which is bamboo on the top, and yes, it's important, it's pretty common. Kome is rice, and then kome hen, which is, yes, important, rice on the left side of the kanji. Ito, and then ito hen for the left side of the kanji means thread, and yeah, those are very important kanji. Mizugame, earthen jar. Amime, net. Hitsuji, sheep. Hitsuji again, sheep. And it's a variant, you'll see it's squished and there's a little line on the bottom of it. Hane, feather, wing. So again, that's the ha of Seres' hagoromo. Oi kamuri, old age, and this came up earlier if you'll remember. This shows the whole kanji though. Shiko shite, and also daitsuki, pillow, mimi, ear, mimi hen, ear when it's a radical to the left. Huretsukuri, writing brush. Niku, flesh meat. Remember this one came up earlier. This is the one that looks like the moon. It looks like tsuki when it's reduced to radical form. Shin, retainer, minister. Mizukara, self. It's the ji in jibun, which is a very, very common word that's used in Japanese. Or it's also like in jidosha, which means car. Do means to move, and then sha is like vehicles or wheels. So self-moving vehicle, self-moving wheels is car. So yeah, it's a really useful kanji that you should know. Itaru, to arrive or reach. Itaru hen, to arrive or reach. Usu, mortar, or what's a quern? Quern, I'm going to look that up. A simple hand mill for grinding grain, typically consisting of 2 circular stones, the upper of which is rotated or rubbed to and fro on the lower one. Thank you, Google. Anyway, shita, tongue. Mayashi, contrary, to err. Hune, ship, boat. Hune hen, ship, boat to the left. Kom, boundary. Iro, color. Kusa, grass or plant. Toragashira, tiger. Mushi, worm, insect, or bug. And mushi hen, worm, insect, or bug, important. Yeah, so like the beast radical, anytime you see mushi, the mushi radical in something, it's probably some kind of animal to do with bugs, insects. It's in some non-bug insect things, like it's in frog, for example. But yeah, I mean, generally it's in like creepy crawly things will tend to have this radical. Chi, blood. Gyogamae, to go. So this was interesting. Note how the left side of this kanji, this radical itself, the left side of it is also a radical. And this kanji by itself means, you know, to go, ikimasu. But as you can see, in this case, it's a radical where each one of these halves of the kanji appears on the left and the right-hand side of some other kanji. So it's like radicals becoming more radicals. How radical is that? Koromo, clothing. We already covered this one, but this is it, like in its full form with all 6 brush strokes. Nishi, cover or west, and again, squished and smaller when it's radical. Uri, melon again, but this is when it's like written out fully with 6 brush strokes. Now we're in 7 brush stroke land. Miru, to see. Tsuno, horn or corner. Tsuno hen, which is that, but to the left of the kanji. Gem, words, to speak and say. And then gomben, which is that on the left-hand side. This is one of the first radical examples I brought up at the beginning of this video, which happened 2 years ago. I know this video is getting really super long. Tani, valley. Tani hen, valley, to the left. Mame, bean, and then mame hen, which is bean to the left. Inoko, pig. Mujina hen, badger. Kai, shell, property, or wealth. And then kai hen, shell, property, or wealth, if it's a radical on the left. And yeah, that's an important kanji. And not to be confused with miru. If you look at miru again, the lines underneath that are kind of curvy, but the lines under this are straight. Aka, red. Hashiru, to run. Sonyo, to run. Ashi, foot, leg. Ashihen, foot, leg. And yeah, all of those running and foot, leg are very important kanji. Mi and mihen are both body. Kuruma, vehicle, wheel, car. I mentioned jidosha earlier. That's the sha in jidosha, car. Kuruma hen, when it's to the left, important. I remember this radical was in Mitsukake's character, if you're familiar with Fushigi Yugi. Incidentally, Fushigi Yugi, like, I have a lot of these, like, anecdotal things about kanji and Fushigi Yugi, and that's because Fushigi Yugi was kind of my first exposure to kanji. Very soon after I got into Sailor Moon, I got into Fushigi Yugi, and if you're not familiar with that series, each celestial warrior has a kanji that glows in a different part of their body. So, hey! That's how I know all these random things. Anyway, I digress. Karai is bitter. Shin no tatsu is the 5th zodiac sign, or 7 to 9 a.m. Shinyo, to advance, move ahead. Mura, community. Hiyomi no tori, sake jar, bird. Tori hen, sake jar, bird again, squished to the left side of the kanji. Nogome, to separate. Nogome hen, to separate. Sato, I brought this one up earlier, so if you combine sato with fire, and you put fire on the bottom of it, you get black, because you're burning the village. Sato hen, in this case, if it's a radical, it's on the left side of the kanji. Shin, retainer or minister. Mayashi, contrary to and mugi, which is wheat. Now onto 8 brushstrokes. Kane, metal, gold, mineral. This is a very important kanji, and you probably learned it your first year of Japanese, because it's also the character used in Friday. Kane hen, metal, gold, mineral, to the left of the kanji. Nagai, long, just like this video. Mongamae, gate or door. Kozato, hill. Reizukuri, to capture. Furutori, small bird. Ame, rain, very important. Amekamuri, rain, on the top. And it's kind of fitting for rain to be on top of a kanji because it's raining down on the kanji. Ao, which is blue or green. Ao again, which is blue or green. And you'll see the slight difference in the bottom portion of the kanji. Arazu, wrong or non. This is like the hi in a lot of kanji, when the hi stands for like the antithesis of the next kanji that comes after it, like hijo. Jo is like ordinary. So hijoni means like extraordinarily or very, because joni is like normally. So yeah, this on its own, like, it's not really much of a radical, but like this is a really important kanji. Shokuhen is food or to eat, very important kanji because food is amazing. And sei, which is alike. On to 9 brushstrokes. Men, flat surface or face. Tsukurigawa, leather. Nameshigawa, leather. Nira, leak. Oto, sound, noise. Ogai, head or page. Kaze, wind. Tobu, to fly. Shoku, food or to eat again, but not as a radical this time. This is it just as its regular kanji self. Kubi, head or neck. Kaori, scent. Now on to 10 brushstrokes. Uma, horse, and then uma hen when it's a radical to the left side of the kanji. Hone, so I brought this one up earlier when I was trying to explain the niku variant, the one that looks like moon but isn't really moon. As you can see, the bottom of this kanji is that radical, and yet hone itself is also a radical, double radical. Takai, high or tall. Kamikamuri, long hair, like me. Tatakai ngamae, fighting. Nioizake, herbs. Deki, tripod. Oni, demon. Nameshingawa, leather. On to 11 brushstrokes. Uo, fish. Uo hen, which is fish radical to the left, and that's pretty important. And again, like anytime you'll see some kind of sea life sort of kanji, it will frequently have uo hen, the fish radical. Tori, bird. Shio, salt. Shika, deer. Mugi, wheat, again. This is it in its actual kanji form. Asa, hemp. Asakamuri, which is hemp as a radical on top of a kanji. Ki, yellow. Kuro, black. Kame, turtle. On to 12 brushstrokes. Ki, yellow again. Kibi, millet.
kuro, black, again, but look, there's like a slight difference in the interior of the top part of the kanji. Nuitori, embroiderer, ha, tooth, kaeru, frog, kanae, tripod, again. You'll see these are just different ways when they're not radicalized or when they're different forms of the kanji. They're just written slightly differently and therefore have different number of brushstrokes. And that is really easy to retain and makes perfect sense. Tsuzumi, drum, nezumi, rat or mouse, hana, nose, sei, alike. And here's the end of it. We've got for 15 brushstrokes, ha, tooth, again, another variant of the other one, ryu, which is dragon, kame, turtle, and yaku, which is a flute. Oh my god, my throat is so sore from going through all of those.
Hi again! Are you still awake? If you found this information useful, go ahead and let me know so I can make more videos like this one. Also, be sure to visit kanjialive.com as it really is a valuable resource to people who are learning kanji. Also, if you like what I do on this channel, you can subscribe or whatever, but what I really want people to do is to add me on Facebook and Twitter. It's much easier to connect there, ask questions, have polls, etc. Plus I'm selling Sailor Moon amigurumi there. Bye-bye!